Hey everyone, welcome to Healthy Mind, Happy Life podcast. I am your host, Caitlin Engler. I believe that we can all move through life transitions without losing who we are, but it takes the right support, community, and connection to carry us through. We can heal through sharing experience, strength, and hope. Each week, we will have genuine and real conversations that will inspire you to shift your mindset to live a happier, free life. Hey everyone. Thank you for joining me in the first, well, I guess technically the second episode of 2024 and the first episode of our first season. So thank you so much for joining Healthy Mind, Happy Life. I'm Caitlin Engler. I am the host. If you are new, welcome. And if you are not new, welcome back. I have missed you guys over the last 2 months. I've been preparing for the show and enjoying the holidays, recovering from sicknesses, and just busy with the business, busy with kids and everything in between. I wanted to really talk about, and this is going to be probably a little past where you guys are because you've probably already done this, but I always like to start off the year with a year in review. And the reason I say is you're probably past this because you've probably already thought about your intentions for the year, or maybe you've already started meeting some of your goals or working towards them. So I just wanted to review my 2023 because I always like to begin a new year with a review of the previous year. Because, like I always say, it's important to be looking forward, but it's also important to acknowledge where we've come from. And 2023 was a major year for me, major healing, major spiritual shifts, and sometimes it's hard to even articulate the shifts that I've went through. There's only a few people that really know some of the things that I've worked on or that can really understand it because they've went through it themselves. It's hard to really capture this almost like feels like an alternate reality that I've been living in for the past year and a half, but it's really been a time of healing. And 2024 is gonna be different for me because it's more of growth in terms of business and my personal life. But 2022 into 2023 were really periods of healing from past things. And I knew that just based on my astrology predictions and everything like that and readings that I've had done, but I can really see it now, and I'm glad that I gave myself the space to do that, and I'm gonna review all of that with you today. But I gave myself the space to do that. There were a few times that I tried to resist it, of course, because that's what we do, but I tried to resist it, and unfortunately, the universe just wasn't gonna let me resist it. It was just, "You have to heal," like, "You have to heal in order to move forward," and the messaging was very, very clear no matter how hard I tried to get out of it. I just had to stay in it. And I wanted to share some of those things with you guys as you're continuing these journeys that you're on, spiritual shifts or just things that you're working on in life. I mean, it's all spiritual in my opinion. Um, but I wanted to go over those goals that I initially wrote down for 2023 um, and if I accomplished them or not. So, one of the first things that, when I actually started writing down my 2024 goals, I realized, well, hold on. I didn't like review my manifestations or intentions for 2023, and I always like to start there. So I flipped and I found it, flipped through my journal, and at the top it says 2023 manifestations, and the first bullet point is release anger and go with the flow. The reason for that is because I have always seen myself as someone who's kind of down to earth, but then I had children and that changed me. I can be a little black and white sometimes. I can be a little rigid in my thinking. And what I've realized is because one, that's just partially who I am, but also that's because I have such a fear of not being liked or being rejected by the world that will I will allow different influences to change how I think, how I feel, how I behave, even when I don't fully feel connected to those experiences or thoughts or beliefs or opinions. I will alter it because that's what Judy said or Tom said or I saw on social media. I will allow it to influence me. I don't even realize that it influences me. And then I wonder, well, why isn't this thing that I'm doing working? Or why do I feel this way all the time, frustrated and angry and blah, blah, blah? Or why can't I just go with the flow? Well, it's because for me, I'm too busy trying to be like everyone else that's just not going to work. There's no flow in that because that's not self. That's not centered with self. And, a lot of my anger I've had since I was a kid. I mean, I've kicked holes in walls, I've broken things in my house, I've injured people that, hurt my sister growing up, many times, and I've just always remember having a lot of anger in me as a kid, and I just never understood it. I didn't understand where it came from, why I had it, why I would get upset about little things, or if someone wasn't doing the thing that I said the right way, I would get so irritated and angry and upset. It's like almost a perfectionist mentality, but this anger I just have carried with me, and it has really shown itself in parenthood. Um, I'm quick to react, I'm quick to get overwhelmed, I'm quick to lash out, I'm short with my kids. And this summer, well, I guess the summer of 2023, my son went to summer camp for a week and they were having some issues with him there behaviorally. And I guess one of the things that he said to the counselors when they pulled him aside, now he is 7. One of the things he said was, I don't know what's wrong. I just have this anger and I don't know what to do with it. And it just freaking broke my heart to hear that. It just devastated me to hear that. And I think what devastated me was that I myself have struggled with the same thing. I myself have felt that way most of my life. Don't know where it came from or why it's there, just know that it is. In August, I and my husband did like a ceremonial type thing for a week. And then we had like a little weekend retreat at home. And the week before, I cleanse and eat a certain way, like I'm going to go on a retreat and just kind of prep my mind and body for long meditations. So I did that, and the weekend came, and we did our mini retreat, and I ventured off on my own. And one of the things that kept just coming to me like an itch you can't scratch was anger. And it wasn't intentional at all. Like I didn't say that going into the ceremony this is what I wanted to release or wanted to do. I actually even forgot I wrote this down for 2023 until I just revisited it. Um, there we go, like a month ago. And this was the biggest like whoa moment for me because I again forgot that I had wrote this down and then these things unfolded throughout the year. So writing and setting intentions has so much power. Even when you forget it and it gets kind of locked away behind a door, it is still the magic is still happening. So I remember, at one point during this weekend, I walked away by myself and took some time to just meditate and reflect. And I sat in my what I call thinking chair outside. It's a swinging chair that I have, and it was so relaxing. But the thing that kept coming up was this anger, and I just started shouting, "I don't want to feel angry anymore." I don't want to feel angry anymore. And I just kept saying it until I finally felt like I was releasing it to as much as I could. And then I went in the pool and just washed it all off and went in the water, and it felt like it was this cleansing experience. And it was. And I'm not saying that the anger has completely went away. I mean, we all battle with anger to some degree. Anger is a real emotion. It just was in the driver's seat for me for so long. I feel like I could even cry thinking about this feeling, right? Feeling that, knowing that I have felt this way my whole life makes me sad for that little person that felt that way. Um, it, and it really has no place in my life anymore. And that's why I chose to release it, because it's not serving me in any way. It doesn't do me any good to yell at my kids, to get angry at that person on the road, to get mad at the cashier at the store because my food was cold or whatever the reason. Those are small examples. But it does come out, right? The anger still lives in there, but it comes out in various ways. And for me, it was overwhelming and reactivity to things. Like I would see red and just get so angry. And a lot of times just by myself, because that's when it felt safest to just let it out. But it has helped me so much doing that, going through that process in August and just releasing it. And so that was the biggest one for me this year. The next biggest one for me was letting go of the sense of urgency that I have. I have always carried this sense of I have to do it now. I have to accomplish this now. I have to do every training this year. I have to be the best this year. I have to do this. I have to do that. I have to do that. And I will load myself full. And everyone's kind of always said that to me. Like people always make comments like, oh, you have a lot going on, or you're always doing a million things, or you're always, I mean, that's just partially how I am. My parents are like that too. My dad will throw his back out and roll off the couch, crawl outside and mow the lawn. And so we're just kind of busybodies by nature. But also this sense of urgency is really the ego being in the driver's seat. It's the ego saying, you have to do this or you're not good enough. You have to do this or you're not worthy. It also is a part in me that says, if you do these things, it'll keep you distracted from the things you don't want to look at, right? When I take a step back, that's what I can see. That's what this sense of urgency does. And the other way it shows up is I have to fix myself because I'm broken. And so I will do whatever I have to do to be better, to fix myself, to feel whole. What I've learned in through this process with my therapist really is where a lot of this work has been done, because she had such a beautiful way of guiding me through um various aspects, because she doesn't operate from one framework. She pulls from all different places, which has given me variety in this journey that I'm on. And it's allowed me to connect with myself and see that I'm not broken, that I don't have anywhere that I'm rushing to, that this is just life. Sometimes life is hard, sometimes life is easy. And it's this beautiful understanding of myself. And when I have that understanding, the urgency like went away. Like I don't feel like I have to do these things anymore to prove something to the world or to myself. I do it because I choose to do it. I do it because I want to do it, because I feel connected to do it, because I feel called to do it. Not because I got some idea, or because a client said they didn't want to work with me anymore, or because so and so said that they would benefit from this type of treatment. Okay, now all of a sudden I find myself wanting to provide that type of treatment, because then I can see all the clients, right? I can fix everyone. Okay, that's just so dumb and not possible. And it sounds, like, whoa, when you hear it, but really that's that internal dialogue, right? And I'm sure yours is similar, but just different based on the experiences that you have in your life, in the circumstances. That sense of urgency is shows up. Okay, I just want to say that it does show up, and I notice it now, and I ask, well, why? Why would you want to do that? And would that be the best decision right now? And like I really check in with myself about my intentions to do that. And so that has helped me stay in rhythm and not just, you know, black out and do what I need to do to feel worthy. So that's been like the second huge one. The next thing is that I feel super, super proud of. I would say this is probably the one I feel most proud of is being consistent. I have started so many things from blogging to different types of businesses to I mean I made athletic pants. I've made baby items. I used to make shirts. I used to write blogs. I started my book. Like I've done so many things and I just have always felt like I don't see it through. And when I go back and look at certain things, I'm like, "Oh, wow, okay, you were actually doing better than you gave yourself credit for during that time. And why didn't you just see it through? Like you were climbing the way you wanted to climb." I would say the number one example could be um, when I started my business, and even probably 2.5 years in, I still was saying the same thing, which was I wanted to see X amount of clients a week. I think it changed. It started with 8 and then it was 12. I want to see that every single week because in the back of my mind, I was like, if I see X amount of clients at X amount of rate, I'll make X amount of money. And yes, that's good to think about. But when it didn't happen, I would fall apart. I would feel crushed. I would feel ashamed. I would feel not good enough. And for years, I chased after this. And if I even had 1 week where I saw below that quota, that standard that I set for myself, I would just keep chasing, chasing, chasing. I look back at that and I'm like, well, I looked at my calendar because I had to go through and count how many clinical hours I've done. And I'm like, okay, well, yeah, you were meeting your goal. Why did you think you weren't? And so sometimes when you're in it, you don't realize it until you're out of it or you take a step back and look and assess the situation. And being consistent um, with my business, being consistent with the podcast, and now being consistent with the monthly newsletter that I'm sending out are just things that I feel so proud of. Not just the things themselves, but the consistency despite the outcome. Whether the outcome was what I wanted or not what I wanted, I continued to just show up because it felt right. It felt like it was the thing I needed to do. And I was really challenging myself because I was tired of always feeling like I was failing at something or not seeing things through all the way. And that feeling just got old. And I'm like, you know what? It's time for me to just be consistent. It's the same thing with just things around my house, with projects I start, my garden. I will start things and then just kinda let them go and not see them through. It's like if I have an outcome in my head that I'm expecting to happen and when in a vision, and when that doesn't happen, I just tap out. Or if it's not going the way I want it to, I just tap out. Or I get off onto a new thing, and that thing I don't need to worry about that other thing. And I let these shiny objects basically take me away from the things that I'm doing, and it made me feel it was very inconsistent behavior. So that's the biggest, um, thing that I'm proud of, I would say. And this topic I know will resonate with you guys because I know a lot of you feel a similar way where you don't feel like you're being consistent or things aren't consistent in your life and you want to have that. And so the thing that I started with was just one thing. I just kept showing up for this one thing and every day, and it felt right. It felt connected. And that's also why I was consistent, is because I really felt connected to it, right? My business is how I serve my purpose in this life. And so I'm connected to that. So I'm going to be consistent with it. If you are finding yourself not consistent with something, it also may be a sign that maybe it's just not your thing. Maybe it's just not what you're supposed to be, doing on your path. Um, there was a couple things on here on my 2023 manifestations that I did not work on, or did not happen for me. And that is okay. Like, I'm totally fine with that, knowing they were smaller things. Like, I really want to work on improving my public speaking. I want to become more of an expert on a certain topic. And um, I wanted to do more workshops, but I didn't have all of those things happen, and maybe I did get a little better at each of those things, or maybe I did them, but not as much as I wanted to, but that's okay, they were, like, flexible ones, actually, all of them are flexible, I will say that, because it's really, at the end of the day, not on my timeline, it's on the universe's timeline, and I can force these things and feel frustrated by it, or I can allow them to be and observe them for what they are, allow them to come in, and if it happens, it happens, and if it doesn't, that's okay. Maybe it's just not the time right now. And so, wrapping up the year and the month of December, I just honestly felt so much gratitude. I even just sent a message to someone, and because I felt so called to just thank them for being a part of my journey and how much they've contributed to it and helped me. And I really believe, like, you need those people in your corner. You need those people cheerleading you on, whether that is a therapist, you pay them or not, or it's just a really good friend. We all need those people in our corner that are supporting us. And I felt like joy and happiness for days, days and days and days. That didn't mean, or that does not mean I didn't get mad. It doesn't mean that I didn't feel overwhelmed or there wasn't other things going on. I'm still a human being. Um, but I have never felt that much joy and happiness for that long since I think I was a child. If I did, it was more of an artificial experience. Um, or it was like moments of it, like a couple days here or a day here and there. um, or because I had like received something like a degree or a vacation or something like that. This was like based off of purely like, whoa, look at what I just came out of. And it felt so personal. Like, this is mine. I didn't even really want to share it with anyone. I just wanted it to be mine. It was just so special. And that pride feeling of, wow, I went through some really painful things. I worked through some really hard things, things that I didn't think I was going to get out of. They were so painful, or that I wanted to run away. I even at one point considered stopping therapy for a while because, and that would have been an okay choice, but because it became so painful to look at these things that I didn't think I could literally do it anymore. And I could have honored that, and I did in various ways. And I was honest about it with my therapist. And so we slowed things down, or we, maybe looked at a different area of my life until I got through it. Um, and so December of 2023 was really just a month of integration and allowing myself to feel happy and proud, because I never do. And honestly, it's the weirdest thing. Like, anytime I have felt joy or happiness, it's either fleeting, It's like a second long, or I think of something and then I think of something horrific. Um, like I could be feeling happy and then I could think about getting in a car accident. Like that extreme where that's just I will sabotage joy and happiness all the time because I don't know what to do with it. I don't know how to just allow myself to be happy ever. It's weird. I feel like I have to do something with it or I'm not allowed to feel that way. And so that was a big win that I just like even allowed myself to experience that. I mean, that's just not a thing that's happened in my world. It's foreign to me. And that it felt easy. Whoa. That it felt easy to allow myself to do that. I didn't even have to force myself to be like, okay, Caitlin, just stay in it. It's okay. Like I didn't even have to talk myself through it. It just was so organic. And that shows me the integrating of the healing that I've been doing is working. It doesn't always feel that way. When you're first learning and integrating, it feels forced. It feels hard. It feels like a lot of self-dialogue. But once you start seeing these little moments of like, wait, hold on, that felt actually easy. It's like that practice that you've been doing, right? It's like going to baseball practice and you can't hit the ball and you can't hit the ball and you can't hit the ball, but one day you suddenly hit the ball. And then you understand how to connect the bat to the ball, right? You understand it on a technical side too. And so that's exactly what it is when you're working with self is you learn to you practice and you practice and you practice and it feels really hard and defeating at first, but then it starts to work. That's the magic. And I've really learned how to work with these various parts within me. And I have learned to allow them to come in, to leave, to partner with me, to ask them to be quiet, to let them show up, instead of always working against them and saying, I wish that they weren't here. I wish I didn't have this part about myself. I wish I didn't have this quality. I wish I was so and so. I wish I could do this. Or why am I like this? Why can't I get out of it? Why can't I? Why can't I? And I just have chosen to not focus on those things and work with them instead of against them because they're going to be there so I can resist it and they keep showing up and we stay in that same dance, or I choose to say, hey, what's going on? Pull up a chair, knowing I don't really like you here sitting next to me, but I can tolerate you for a little bit. I can set boundaries with you, can ask you to be quiet. And I know that sounds weird, but it is like these various parts, the part that doesn't feel worthy, the part that doesn't feel like they have any friends, the part that feels like they're unloved, the part that doesn't feel important, the part that doesn't feel good enough, the part that feels like a failure, the part that feels like they're not going to be successful, the whatever part is showing up for you, right? That those are the parts that want to be heard and acknowledged, as painful as they are. Um, so that's kind of my 2023 in a nutshell. Not really in a nutshell, but kind of in a nutshell because it feels like that was a really big because to truly articulate this experience it would be impossible. But I'm so grateful that I can bring in these various topics and aspects and things that I learn along the way to you guys, and that I will continue to learn. And you're learning from me, but I'm also learning from you and from other people as well. And I want to keep learning and improving, so you can too, because that's how this world works. There's enough room for all of us. There's enough room for all of us to grow. And to me, when I stop growing, life's boring. Sometimes I have to just take a pause from it and enjoy life. But if I stop growing, then I can't serve. If I stop growing, life would just be boring. So I continue to show up. I continue to serve in the way that I know feels right to me. Um, real quick, I did set my 2024 intentions that I'm not going to share until next year's year in review. But I listened to, and I'm gonna leave you guys with this. I listened to the Life School, or wait, the Life Coaching School podcast. There we go, by Brooke Castillo. And she had an episode that had 5 questions to ask yourself. And I listened to it, and it's been really hard to answer these questions. I don't even think I fully answered them, but I'm always thinking about them because they're that hard. One, I'm only going to leave you with one though, and that is, if you had 1 year left from today, what would you stop doing? Now, I know a lot of people may say work, but for me, I probably would continue to work because I work is an extension of me. It's like a part of who I am. It's not really a job. It's not something I hate or dread. And so I wouldn't personally stop doing that, but I would stop, I think, rushing and hurrying through a lot of things I do, which I'm starting to get there, right? I talked about that with the sense of urgency. I think I would just, there's a lot of other things too that I haven't wrote down yet, but I am always keeping in the back of my mind. If I had 1 year left, what would I stop doing? And does that give me anxiety? Yes. A lot of anxiety, which is probably why I haven't fully written down my answer yet. Because I'm like, whoa, but I want to do all the things. 1 year is not enough for me to do all those things. But it really does help to clarify what is most important to you, right? Because all the other shit, all those shiny objects and other influences that we have, it's just fluff. All the thoughts that we have, most of them are fluff. They just take up space and time, but they're not really doing anything. They're not really helping us gain that clarity. So this question really helps to clear the clouds so you can clearly see things for what they are and what you want. Um, well, that's a wrap for today. I'm looking forward to the season, and I will see you guys all back next week.